So a while ago we ranked up the top 10 worst queues to wait in at the Disneyland Resort. So we're going to take a look at the other side of the country and rank the top 10 worst queues to wait in at Walt Disney World. Overall, Disney World absolutely demolishes Disneyland in terms of queues. They have way more indoor queues. They have way more queues that are well themed. Most of the queues in this list aren't that bad. So let's dig into what makes a queue bad. Obviously, because these are Disney parks, theming is very, very important. So any poorly themed queue is going to rank very high in this list. Capacity is also very, very important, and efficiency, obviously. Waiting in line is a very unpleasant experience. So the faster the line moves, the better. So any slow moving queue is going to rank high on this video as well. Before we get started, please like this video. Please leave a comment down below. Let me know what your least favorite queues to wait in are at Disney World. And of course, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. I would greatly appreciate your support. YouTube tells me that we have over 20,000 returning viewers every month, and we're nowhere near 20,000 subscribers. So if you've watched more than one video, I would greatly appreciate your support. So let's start things off with number 10 with a very, very popular attraction. It is Seven Dwarfs Mine Train at Magic Kingdom. This ride is very, very cute. I have a full review video already on the channel. Honestly, the physical queue itself is not that bad. The final section is inside the mountain and it is air conditioned, which is really, really important to me. I usually go to Disney World in the summertime, and I'm a Californian, so the humidity is brutal. But you know, this queue is very well shaded. There's a shaded queue house with a few interactive like gadgets, like they have a water fountain thing. Once you're inside, they have like spinning barrels, and if everyone spins a barrel, you have a little projection sequence on the ceiling, which is pretty cute. But this ride is very, very popular, so the line can be slow moving. I feel like I've avoided suffering in this line. Like I've either hit Seven Dwarfs Mine Train very early or very late in the day. A few years ago, I got to ride this attraction during the fireworks. I got in line like right as the fireworks started, and I was able to experience the attraction while the fireworks were going off. So the wait time really wasn't that bad, but that also speaks to how long Happily Ever After is. That's a very long show, so that's very, very cool. That was an absolutely magical experience, hands down a highlight of that trip. So because I haven't personally suffered in this queue, that might be why it doesn't rank that high. But if you've spent hours just dying in this line, I would understand if you'd want to rank it higher for the worst queues at Disney World. Moving on to number 9, we have another roller coaster at Magic Kingdom. It is Tron Light Cycle Run. I've only experienced this attraction with the virtual queue, but even with the virtual queue, you still have to wait a good amount of time. That no longer exists. They currently offer the standby line for Tron. From what I understand, the wait time is long enough. You're going to be waiting out on that bridge area, which is unshaded. It's a bunch of switchbacks. It's pretty ugly and gray, so not great. Even for like the core of the queue, those switchbacks under those fans aren't great either. Like switchbacks in general are just exhausting to wait through. Where I did a lot of suffering was in this themed room after the pre-show. For whatever reason, it felt like the line was moving very, very slow, and it's a very long set of switchbacks, so it feels like you're in there for an eternity, and you hear that voice over and over again, so it's not great, which is why it ranks above Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. Moving on to number 8 is Spaceship Earth. This is just an outdoor cattle pin right underneath Spaceship Earth. This ride is pretty high capacity, and because it's an Omnimover ride system, you should be constantly moving, which is very, very nice. But in terms of theming, it's like non-existent. I guess the only theming that there is that mural closer to the attraction, and also being under the Epcot ball is kind of a spectacle. So that's pretty interesting. But other than that, it's literally just a cattle pin underneath the attraction. So I felt like I had to put it on this list. Moving on to number 7, we're heading over to Hollywood Studios for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. This one really suffers by comparison to the Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway at Disneyland. This might be the only version of any attraction that has a worse queue in Florida compared to the version in California. The Runaway Railway queue here is absolutely incredible. It's very well themed. The one in Florida is mostly outdoors. Once you're inside, it's kind of just generic, you know. It's like the Chinese theater, which is really cool. I guess it's the icon for Hollywood Studios. They kind of switch it up. They either use the Chinese theater or they use Tower of Terror for the icon of Hollywood Studios, which is kind of interesting. But most of the queue for this version of the attraction is outside, which is not great. Moving on to number 6, we have Remy's Ratatouille Adventure back at Epcot. Once you're inside, obviously it's air conditioned, which I appreciate, and it is pretty well themed, which I also appreciate, but a big chunk of the queue is in this outdoor cattle pen. It is shaded, but it's just exhausting and long. This attraction pulls numbers. It gets really long wait times, and I feel like the ride experience doesn't really justify that. I feel like Epcot is lacking headlining attractions, and because this ride is newer than a lot of the rides at Epcot, that's why it gets such a long wait time. So in a perfect world, Disney will continue to expand Epcot, so hopefully the wait time for this attraction can continue to decrease, because waiting in that cattle pen is not ideal. But once you're inside, it's a pretty solid queue. I don't really have a problem with it. I have heard some criticisms of like, it's just kind of like an endless hallway at points, which like, I kind of understand. But you know, I'm just happy to be inside at that point. I just don't want to wait in that outdoor queue. You do have a view of the Skyliner though, which is kind of cool. Moving on to number 5, we're gonna go back to Hollywood Studios for Rock and Roller Coaster. I feel like I've had like the exact opposite experience of Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. Like, I feel like I've suffered in this line a lot over my visits to Disney World. Like, I don't know why. Like, this is a very high capacity attraction, especially compared to Ratatouille. Like, it should demolish Ratatouille in terms of numbers, but the standby line absolutely crawls. I feel like this is probably a similar situation to Space Mountain at Disneyland, where they just give out way too many lightning lanes. So the attraction is serving way too many lightning lane guests and not enough standby guests. So when you wait in line for standby, it absolutely crawls. And if you wait for a really long time, I feel like it's pretty easy to leave this ride experience feeling pretty underwhelmed, because this is an older generation Vekoma launch coaster, so it's not great. Like, I have problems with the ride experience. I've actually kind of gone through a roller coaster of emotions with this ride. I do have a full review video for it. In 2018, when I first rode it, I rode it in the front and I got off thinking that was like one of my favorite rides ever. 2020 and 2021, I thought less of it. I think that's when I made my review video after those rides. I can't quite remember. In 2023, I thought it was like, I got a terrible ride. I had an awful experience. I considered making a Why It Sucks video for this ride, but I did not. And then when I got back in 2024, I finally got to retry it in row 1, and I thought it was fine. I mean, it was really cool to be back in the front after all those years to try to recreate that 2018 ride, but it just didn't live up to it. But by then, I'd also been on way more roller coasters, so there's that. I'm totally off topic. The queue itself, the outdoor section is very bland, kind of ugly, low-key. I did get to visit Disney World in 2020 after the parks reopened, and I remember waiting in a very long line for Rock and Roller Coaster, and the social distancing, it was like, it took up that entire courtyard, so it was a very long line, but at that point, there was no lightning lane, so it moved pretty quick, relatively quick from my memory. But in terms of normal operating days, the Rock and Roller Coaster standby line sucks. I'd even say the single rider line sucks, so it's just not a pleasant wait either way. Moving on to number 4, we're going back to Magic Kingdom for Astro Orbiter. I rode this ride last year because I have no memory of riding it before that. I think I rode it as a kid, but it was cool to get back on it. I rode it at night, so there weren't that many guests, but the whole procedure of taking an elevator to get up there and then taking an elevator to leave is just such a headache. It's such a hassle. Like, I've walked by it and I've seen the line for the elevator and I'm like, no, you know, like, it's just not worth it for this attraction, especially when you consider there's literally 2 clones of it, one in Fantasyland and one in Adventureland. So just absolutely a headache, even when I didn't have to wait that long to get on the attraction. So I can't imagine waiting in a longer line. I would probably just crash out from frustration. Absolutely not worth it. I can probably go another decade or 2 without riding Astro Orbiter. Moving on to number 3. This is the only entry on this list from Animal Kingdom. It is Na'vi River Journey. So this is shaded, which is very, very nice. The shade structure has like a very cool design. My big problem with Na'vi River Journey is the capacity. Those boats are small, so the line moves very slow, and the demand is high for this attraction because it is in Pandora, the world of Avatar. So it's a very cute ride. It's very cool, especially that animatronic, but waiting in that line for like 70 minutes to see one cool animatronic is not ideal. Like, I remember the first time I rode it, they were selling like drinks in the line, and when you pass the drink stand, you could walk for a while. So the first chunk of the queue felt like you were in line for the drink stand instead of being in line for the attraction, which was kind of frustrating. I haven't seen them do that since, so hopefully they stop. Moving on to number 2, we're going back to Magic Kingdom for Big Thunder Mountain. At the time of this recording, it is currently closed for the retracking project, which is very exciting because I prefer our Big Thunder Mountain way more than the Big Thunder Mountain in Florida, so it's exciting that they're making that Big Thunder Mountain more in line with the quality of the Big Thunder Mountain in Disneyland. That being said though, the queue sucks. The station is underground, which is very cool, but the queue structure is this wooden building and there's no air conditioning. There's like no fans, so it was deathly hot in there. I was like dying last time I was in there. Very, very unpleasant. You have cool vista views of Big Thunder Mountain, especially of that final section before you hit the final brakes. That is really cool, but it was just so unpleasant, so hot. So that's why I rank Big Thunder Mountain this high. And my least favorite line to wait in all of Walt Disney World is also in Magic Kingdom for the Tomorrowland Speedway. That was absolutely awful. It was terrible. It's so hot. Like the heart of the queue is underneath a shade structure, but the smells of those go-kart style ride vehicles and the heat, it's just unpleasant. I am so sorry to all of the cast members that work Tomorrowland Speedway. I don't know how they do it. It was so hot. There's like no shade in the actual loading area. It's just horrible. I think I've only ridden this attraction once that I can remember, and it was while Tron was being constructed. It's just terrible. I never want to wait in this line ever again, at least in the daytime, in the summertime. Even then, it's an underwhelming ride experience, so I don't know if I'm not dying for a night ride on Tomorrowland Speedway, especially when one of the coolest night rides in all of Disney World is right next door with Tron. So that is my opinion on the 10 worst queues to wait in at Walt Disney World. Do you agree with this list? Do you disagree? Did I miss any attractions that I should have included? Was I being too harsh on any of the attractions that I included? Please let me know down in the comments below. Please like this video, and of course, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. I will catch you later.